Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. Today, 27th day in the month of March 2024. Thank you for joining us on Morning Spring, where we talk about everything important. And as I usually say, as we usually do, is geared towards having a functional and better Nigeria, the kind of a nation that we are all proud of in every ramification. And there are some conversations that must happen. And these are the conversations that we usually have every day. Femi Ojo is my name, and I welcome you. And beside me is
Evelyn Ohiolei. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning, Femi.
Yeah.
How are you doing, and how are you doing, our dear viewers? Thank you so much for joining us today. It's the midweek installment of Morning Spring right here on Western Spring Television, where we say it as it is. And today I urge you to take action. You know, whatever it is, go for your goals, go for your dreams, take actions, do what you need to do to make it count. And on the other side, on the flip side, remember that the wrong actions have consequences.
Right.
So you have to know that you will take responsibility if you do the wrong things. Ensure to go for gold today.
Yeah, going for gold. That's what we shall do. Talking about what is happening. Sadly, yesterday morning, we learned that one of the front runners in the gubernatorial race in Ondo State, passed on. Yeah. Quintelura, if I'm not mistaken. It's a sad one, by the way. That way, as we usually say, that's the end of any man. But maybe it will throw in some dynamics or twist into who succeeds. Is it about succession? Because Lucky is still there, and he wants to come back. But I remember what he said when at an interview he was asked if he will throw his hat into the ring to run. He said nobody wants to be a governor for 1 year, meaning he wants to come back. But there's many persons having their eyes on that particular seat. There is Jima Ibrahim, there is Olushola Oke, and many of them like that. But the loss of Akintelure, it's a major one, and maybe throws in some twist in the battle.
Well, even politics aside, first off, we've got to be humane. I mean, our condolences to the family of Akintelure, and the loss of their son, their father, husband, uncle. It's always sad, yes, to lose someone of that importance. And thinking about the personality of Akintelure, saying he is indeed a wonderful man, and we hope that God will give them the fortitude to bear this irreparable loss.
Irreparable loss, and the dust is yet to settle in Okwama as well. Many twists, many turns, many angles every day. Many persons are telling the federal government to prevail on the military to please, while they are carrying out the investigation, they should please tone down the siege, the siege on Oklahoma and every adjoining communities to Oklahoma as well, because things has never remained the same in that place. Talking about the humanitarian part of that attack and investigation.
Well, the dust should settle. It hasn't settled, like you said, but then the right things should be done. I think that's what everyone is calling out for, that the right things should be done. And also the military and the government should also take into consideration the innocent ones in that community. We are just talking about not just the security, but also the economy of that security, because business will definitely not be the same in that community. Families at this time will be distraught. So it's very important that we look into that as a people and ensure that these people come back to their community and peace returns in the nearest possible time.
Nearest possible time, that it is, so that those persons, there are some individuals, in fact many persons who ran away because of the fear of reprisal attack by the army, and we learned some of them are stuck in the forest. But they can't return. The other communities are not welcoming you know, them with open arms because, you know, more like anybody with Okwama tag now is an outcast. You don't want anybody to, you don't want the military to know that an Okwama person is in village B or village C so that they don't come for them and say you are, it's a lot, really. This is a time that many persons will be second-guessing themselves. Are you harboring? Even if those persons are innocent, the fact that they are from Okwama, every other communities will be wary of having them because you don't want the army to know that you have an Okwama person who is a suspect, you know, and that's one of the things that we are seeing right now. Again, at the National Assembly, the budget situation is still there. The calling out of, you know, some insertion or different kind of budget by the suspended Abdul Ningi is still raising dust and generating ripples again. You know, many persons called him a rabble-rouser when he granted an interview to say, if you have concerns, why didn't you speak to the leadership of the House? Why go to the press and leak such an information in which the whole government of the National Assembly has descended on him to say, why do you want to throw us, you know, under the bus and make us look like we are a bunch of thieves and irresponsible people? He was suspended for 3 months or thereabout. But then since then, Nigerians are not letting go, and that's the right thing to do. CSO, the media like us, well-meaning Nigerians, are trying to say this thing that this man talked about. Maybe it might not be 100% true, but it might not be 100% a lie as well. And it has given another dimension to the scrutiny of the particular budget, this 2024 budget. In fact, many persons are saying, can you please recall this budget and please let's try again, because it appears now we are seeing some insertions, you know, some ambiguity in the naming of some projects under different funny, you know, ministry. We'll talk about that later. I
mean, just 10 months into this 10th Assembly, and we are seeing all this rancor and all this crisis. It is not a good one for Godswill Akpabio, who heads that particular assembly. And I wonder why we are only talking about the Senate, why we're not talking about the House of, you know, representative, because it was a joint work. You know, it's a National Assembly, the joint work from the Senate and the Federal House of Representatives. So for the Federal House to keep silent as such, and also the Senate, it seems it's a collaboration. But then, like you said, we should always speak to these issues, and we should ensure that we get answers to our questions.
We should get, and people in charge should not always think whenever you ask them questions, you want to embarrass them. No, you are there to serve the people. That's why you are public office holders. Even if you have, you know, concluded something, you are giving an explanation, and somebody has something to ask, please be free, be open. You know, there are many senators, many parliamentarians, not just the National Assembly members, even politicians, leaders, who feel the moment somebody comes to question something they are doing, is either the oppositions are sending those people, you have some questions that they are not comfortable about, and somebody on your own show will point at you and say it's like the opposition are the ones using you. These are questions. In fact, that's why you are there, to clarify. You know, it would have been bad enough if assertions were made behind somebody, but then you are, you know, within that space, Nigerians, possibly at a town hall meeting, community meeting, on live shows like TV and radio, asking you questions, calling in, and you feel it's the opposition. Where do we go from here? And these are the issues.
All right, accountability, transparency, openness, and sincerity are the hallmarks of a good administration and also good leadership. We will be speaking to these issues and many more right in the course of this particular program. But first, we'll take a look at the headlines right after this break. Do not go anywhere.
All right, it's the papers time right now on Money Spring Television, and we want to start with the Punch newspaper. And Ladeji Alabi is here. Ladeji, thank you for joining us as always.
Good morning, Femi. Good morning, Evelyn. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Welcome.
Yes.
Right, The Punch, CBN, EFCC probe banks, firms over alleged forex racketeering. Riders, CBN implements Deloitte forex audit report. EFCC may summon CEOs over $2.4 billion invalid request. Several forex requests fraudulent, made with invalid illegal document. Cardoso insists. And the picture there is that of a vessel on the high sea having some difficulty. You know, we learned a bridge collapsed in the U.S. yesterday. 6 missing, 2 rescued as U.S. cargo ship destroys Baltimore Bridge. Wow. I could see, you know, the destruction there.
Yeah, I watched that video yesterday, and it's actually, me just watching it, it was kind of traumatizing because you could see vehicles, you know, moving past that bridge, going at a time, and at the time the ship was coming, you know, towards the bridge, I don't know, it just pulled it down, and you can see vehicles, you know, crushing into the water. So it's really a sad one.
You would have thought that was a movie, but at last it wasn't.
Exactly.
It wasn't a movie. 6 missing, 2 rescued as U.S. cargo ship destroys Baltimore Bridge. Assassination allegation, my voice note distorted, says Gani Adams. Mom, others hail death sentence on Chinese for killing lover. This is one case that has dragged for some time. Slain soldiers for burial today. Military demands killers capture. And top strip, Tinubu to vet Foreign Affairs Ministry's ambassadorial list. NCC insists on SIM NIN deadline, telcos bar lines Friday, and unemployment responsible for rising banditry and kidnapping. Obasanjo, 24.75% interest rate, OPS fears higher inflation, massive job cuts, Adejuwon. Let me bring you here quickly. CBN, EFCC probe banks, firms over alleged forex racketeering, several forex requests fraudulent, made with invalid illegal document. EFCC may summon CEOs over 2.4 billion invalid requests. This is one, since this issue, you know, has happened, especially under administration, and forex racketeering, you know, financial impropriety, many persons, even analysts, people of knowledge, have been saying the CBN should beam its light more on banks, that many of them are aiding and abetting these irregularities that we are seeing. You agree?
100%. I agree with that. If we want to, you know, bring sanity to, you know, our monetary sector and the forex issue that we've been battling with, seriously, we need to look into the activities of banks. They are really not helping.
Sorry, Adejuwon, because I had to ask that because many persons have been saying maybe is the issue of the BDC. But how about the DMBs, the deposit money banks?
The issue is the BDC guys don't print money.
Yeah.
When CBN brings up, gets these funds, or even in the case of Naira, when they print these funds, they get them to, deposit money banks.
Right.
And these are the official people that get. So the BDC guys should also be maybe sourcing for fund elsewhere. But it is sad that the money you can't get in bank, you get from the BDC guys. This money did not fall from heaven.
Yeah.
They get people that fund them. I think I've said it sometimes on this show. Last year, a friend of ours needed dollars to travel.
Yeah.
About $1,500, to fund his trip. And we went to his bank, the bank he uses, and the bank right from inside the bank, they call and are booking for us. Say, go and meet so person. So it's
right from inside,
inside the bank, right from within the bank.
So what they couldn't offer,
they
gave you a vendor's
because
number.
In reality, they know the CBN can monitor the price which they sell, but they sell to these aboki, make more money from it. So these are many of the. I was arguing with someone last week, and I told the person that we are only not concentrating on the reality of what is killing our Naira. The Binance people we are facing, I can say, contribute only maybe 10-20% of the problem. Bulk of the problem stands within the internal operatives of our monetary system, from banks to even the politicians themselves. So I feel the CBN just need to do the needful, beam their searchlight on these people, let them know that there is a new sheriff in town if we really want to fight this. And also, I've seen over the time, politicians say Nigerians should buy Nigerian goods so that Naira can be strengthened.
Improve, yeah.
And an average Nigeria, Evelyn, if you ask me, how many of them have the money to go and buy imported cars? How many of them have the money to go and buy SUVs? Nigerians, majority of people now, how many of them can buy imported rice? They eat locally made rice. Don't forget all this packaging or whatever. They are the ones that spend in hard currency. So if CBN want to really fight this, if EFCC want to fight this, when they are beaming their satellite on the banks, they should look at the politicians too.
As well, that's what the Punch has for us.
All right, we move over to Daily Trust newspaper this morning. On Daily Trust newspaper, 60 hours after Kuriga students yet to reunite with families, we are eager to have them back home, says parents. They are undergoing psychotherapy, the government says. Submission of 2 lists responsible for 287 figure. That's coming from a resident, and bandits kingpin yellow jambros behind abduction. And IPOB funding terrorism through sports betting platforms, crowdfunding. This is coming from the federal government. And Chinese sentenced to death for killing Nigerian girlfriend in Kano. Gumi, I discussed how to curb banditry with security agencies. I mean, sharing his thoughts there with the security agencies. Remember that he was called in for questioning. Amid soaring inflation, CBN raises benchmark lending rate to 24.7%, uncovers $2.4 billion for scam decision, putting pressure on banks. That's according to an expert. And BDC rate appreciates to 1,304 naira to the dollar. And we must treat kidnappers as terrorists. Preston Tinubu says 17 slain soldiers for burial in Abuja today. And Kano governor nominates Kwankwaso's son, sacked commissioner for cabinet appointment. These are all from Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Right, from the Daily Trust, let's go to what the Vanguard has for us. The Vanguard, Okwama, how government security bodies failed to rein in militant leader. These a Vanguard investigation. Okwama, how government security bodies failed to rein in militant leader. This is coming from an investigation from the Vanguard newspaper. A couple of riders there. I petition presidency, state government, security bodies to no avail. That's His Royal Highness of Congo. And troops knew where the killer was and went there. This is maybe another angle to this matter coming from an investigation from the Vanguard. Troops knew where the killer was and went there. Monarch forced to take oath of allegiance to militant leader. Silver in Diri and silver in Vabawo, a lot. You might just want to pick up a copy of the Vanguard for that. And away from that, Kuka to federal government interrogate persons with ties to bandits. No cause for alarm, says Gumi after questioning by security agents. Kingmakers boycott meeting with, over Olubadan designates absence. Mambila firm vows to deliver 3,050 megawatt hydro power project. Nigeria can host Commonwealth Games successfully and boast. And top strip, Omeya was never governor of Rivers, court rules. Binance collaboration with SEC, EFCC, NSA fruitful. CBN raises interest rate to 24.75%. NSC president chairs Vanguard IWD as Okotete Osafili orders attend. Banditry, Zamfara government, Zamfara under siege. Governor Lawal tells Tinubu. Let's take you from there. But Ladeji, Okwama, how government security bodies failed to rein in militant leader. And this is coming from an investigation done by the Vanguard, which is revealing, so many angles that are never spoken with before. before you come in, I think I told Evelyn here last week that beyond this first narrative of people attacking the military and the military guys, 16 or 17 of them, and killing them and, mutilating their body, many persons believe, and I believe as well, there are still some angles that are not yet unfolded, and we are seeing some of them with investigation from the Vanguard. Yeah,
Femi, it's sad. When you look at the alarming rate of arms proliferation in Nigeria, then you get scared for the common man. If military guys can be attacked this way, then what happens to the bloody civilians? It's sad that weapons are in the hands of guys that are not meant to be.
The wrong people.
The wrong guys. And I've maintained, except there's a narrative that changed my mind, I've maintained that the people that attack those soldiers are not just angry youth.
It appears so.
They are well-equipped guys, because what I know about the Nigerian military, they are not just anyhow guys. Yeah. They are well-trained. Even though we may say we are not giving them the needful, we are not taking, they are well-trained guys. So you can't just tell me some angry youths come out there and attack. There's a lieutenant colonel among them. These are not just
captain.
They are not just guys that maybe the guys that joined military yesterday. They have been there. So I think it speaks to how well our community leaders manage issue of security around us, and how terrible our politicians can go to arm anybody that they know can defend them. In most cases, when you give arms and ammunition to these guys, after election you don't get them back, then they do whatever they like with it. They go on terrorizing people, and there's the ripple effect. They've thrown a whole community and neighboring community into serious crisis for the past 1 or 2 weeks now. I think it's just, we just need to learn lessons from this.
A rider here says, I petition presidency and state government, security bodies to no avail. The Royal Highness there, Congo. And another one says, troops knew where the killer was and went there. This is an investigation, though.
Well, of course, an independent investigation. And I think it was on a TV last week that one of the analysts was saying also that beyond the narrative of the military, beyond the narrative of the community, we need an independent investigator to go there and see, because apparently the military will not say something that will favor the community. The community will also try to
defend itself.
The military are trying to do whatever they like. So I think, Femi, this is just a growing conversation. Let me put it that way.
Developing story.
A lot of things will still come out.
So you are saying the kind of investigation should be done independently.
Independently, sincerely.
Not by the military.
Yes, the military can come up with their own investigation. The independent will just bring balance, because whatever the military will be coming up apparently will not favor the community. And whatever, if you ask the community to also defend themselves, they will not say anything that, in fact, they will also paint a picture like, I know the military came, they were picking people from their homes, they are doing this, that. But if you have an independent investigator, they go into the community, they look at both sides, and we can actually trash this out and, make it not happen again.
Yeah, and sadly, the slain soldiers will be buried.
It's sad, it's sad.
We let the president will be there. That's the supreme price.
Well, of course, yes. They've paid the supreme price, and I think we just need to, I don't know if it is common here, as slain soldiers, how do we take care of their families? Because they gave their life to defend the nation, and they died in the line of duty. So their family needs to be taken care of.
To know that they died in the hands of people within. Don't let me preempt. We are not sure yet.
Of course,
yes. That's it. Talking about their family, I saw a report of the mother of one of the soldiers saying that she has lost 4 of her sons, in military to issues like this. And it's sad that a mother will witness the death of 4 who are in military. But then may their souls continue to rest in peace. We'll move on to Nigerian Tribune for today. Nigerian Tribune. We have this headlines here on the front page. Plateau, 16 APC lawmakers seek Tinubu's intervention. That's on page 13. And Delta, slain soldiers to be buried today. Pay Hajj fare based on dollar exchange rate, Nakan tells pilgrims. And Lagos are going to experience high rainfall, strong winds. This coming from government. And I say this is not just about you making the announcement. Have you put up what you need to put in place to ensure that we do not have natural disasters as a result of this high rainfall and the strong winds? Gani Adams speaks on Face Up with Igboho, Sanwo-Olu's chief of staff. That's on page 2. And Adejuwon, APC others mourn as governorship aspirant Akintelure dies at 61. And Aboringness Group, I hope I got that right, demands investigation into sudden death and why we have not yet nominated Ohiolei as new Olubadan. This coming from the Kingmakers. And cost of borrowing to rise as CBN raises benchmark interest rate to 24.75%. Cardoso says $2.4 billion FX forwards backlog ineligible for payments. That's on the business side. Let me take Ladejuwon on this one. The death of Paul Akintelure, one of the aspirants of the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State. You know, before his death, before his demise, there were reports that he had called out, not called out particularly, but he had already announced that there were threats to his life.
As complaints. Yeah.
You know, he has made complaints, but then these happened, and that's why you see here on Nigerian Tribune that some group asking and demanding for investigation into a sudden death. Why do you think right here in Nigeria, when people make complaints about death threats, you know, being made on their lives, we take it, we do not take it as we should. We take it with levity until their death. You know, we know what happened with Mohbad. In fact, Mohbad wrote a petition and all of that until his death before people started clamoring for justice for him. And this one now with Akintelure, there are a lot of people that also have found themselves in this particular situation.
Evelyn, it's sad that we are not a serious people. I remember a friend of mine, a journalist, did an investigation on a rape case.
Yeah.
And the officer that is meant to prosecute the case was asking the victim, didn't you enjoy it? So it speaks to the question you ask, why are we not proactive? We are always reactive.
Yeah.
The people that are meant to, you know, okay, so if I know people raise false alarm, yes, fine. But proper thing as a security agency is to investigate.
Yeah.
If the person raises a false alarm, get him punished.
Yeah.
So that it can serve as a deterrent to other people.
Yeah.
You don't just waste the hours of the police and all. But if you investigate and you discover there is truly a threat, then you treat it so that we don't get to lose people anyhow.
Yeah.
But the illustration I just brought speaks to the kind of levity and people take, you know, issues like this. You remember before the general election, 2023 election, there was a video that came out with this guy, MC Oluomo, threatening Mama Chukwudi, don't come out to vote, this and that. The FPRO came out to say it was a joke. And really on the day of election, were people not attacked? So it's sad that is the way our security agencies see things. And not until we have a change of attitude. Okay, this person has come out with a claim that people are threatening his life. Why don't you just investigate? If it were to be true, fine. If it is not, punish the person for raising a false alarm.
That's it. But then we're not sure the cause of death.
Yeah, of course, yes. Yeah. But I only answer the question.
Because many things usually happen during political season.
But if anybody raised anything
but the
of
fact
such,
that he raised
it,
it should be
and there is a proof to the fact that he raised it, it should have been investigated. Even if his death came naturally, and then at least the police would have said, okay, we investigated and we discovered there was nothing of such.
All right. Thank you, Ladeji.
It's always a pleasure. And big congratulations to the people of Senegal.
Okay.
The new president, you know.
You're happy. Is it because he's a young person?
Of course, yes. I'm very
But you know it's not about age.
Iran as an independent candidate, he came out of prison on the, I think March in his life will be a month to remember. 15th of March, he was released from prison. 25th of March, his birthday, when he clocked 44. he became the president of Senegal.
44-year-old as the president-elect of Senegal. You know, big ups to them in Senegal. But then he should know that he has a big body to carry, because many African people, including Ladechi, including myself, you know, are excited as a young person. Of course, so he should deliver.
We hope he won't fail, so that he can be a good representative of the youth.
For the younger people. Yeah. All right, we'll go on this break. We'll return. It's the Morning Spring. It's the Morning Spring. The conversation right now, it's about, just like we said earlier during the papers, that the dust is yet to settle about some concern about the 2024 budget that has been signed into law, and that's what we are running now as a nation. There was this concern raised by the suspended Abdul Ningi when he said it appears we are running two kind of budgets. You know, he said that in an interview that the official budget of 20 trillion naira, thereabout, that was signed by the president. There is that one. There is, according to him, another over 25 trillion naira worth of budget. And but then, fast forward, he was descended on heavily by the National Assembly members, his colleagues, and he was suspended, you know, for misleading the public and trying to throw the entire institution of the National Assembly under the bus, making them look like they are not what they are, possibly dishonest persons. But then, since then, many Nigerians have been on the matter to really say, let's look at these, really. And there are documents that are suggesting that on the, by the way, let me state it here, that many Nigerians have issues with what they call ambiguity, you know, in the budget. There are some insertions in the budget that are not well stated, and it is within the law that guides any budget that it must be expressed, it must be clear. You know, the naming, the figures of any, I mean, attributed to any project, ministry, or MDAs of the government, clearly stated. The figures must be there. What it should be used for, it will be used for, should be there. There's no room for ambiguity, but it appears. And apart from that, many Nigerians are having issues with the fact that there are some projects that are tight, you know, or that have been put there to be carried out by some agencies and MDAs of the government who are not supposed, you know, to have anything to do with such a project. And that is what we'll be looking at today. In fact, there are some projects tied to the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, you know, and we learned that office will oversee some projects. And many persons are wondering, is it really part of what that agency, I mean, the office of the Secretary to the Federal Government should be doing? To bring more light on these, we have been joined by Tony Adejuwon. He is the team lead for Urban Alert. Urban Alert is non-governmental organization that works towards, you know, we're having good governance. They care about the environment as well. Mr. Tony Adejuwon joins us right now. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, and I'm glad to be on this show this morning. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, everybody.
All right. Very quickly, we've been talking about budget 2024. You know, I can easily target matters arising, you know, from the Ningi era, even, you know, the defense of the budget, the proposal, the defense by different MDAs, now to the signing of the budget into law by Mr. President. Now, matters arising after it, 2024, today is March 27, and the dust is here to settle about this year 2024. There are allegations of padding counter allegations as well, the Ningi saga, and here we are right now. There is a document flying around, especially from Budget, you know, an organization called Budget, that says more than 7,000 projects were inserted, you know, into the 2024 budget, running into more than 2 trillion naira, and it reeks of ambiguity or some things that will make, you know, a well-meaning Nigeria not to be comfortable, and this is what we are unraveling this morning. By the way, first of all, give us your assessment of all these matters around the 2024 budget so far.
All right, thank you. I think this is not new in our national space. It has more or less become a tradition as a country that we have ambiguous budgets like this. It's been like this for a very long time. Don't forget, there were conversations around budget padding at the National Assembly before we got to have these other issues from the office of the secretary to the government of the federation and some other MDAs. So it's more like I won't say it's normal because it happens often, but it's the usual thing that we have within during every budget cycle, and in fact within that document. But yes, despite the outcries and, you know, people talking about it and people bringing facts, you would have assumed that a serious government will withdraw or find something to do around that budget and do something serious once. It's just about eating the ground running, that, like our politicians used to say, just eat it once and solve those problems. Unfortunately, the budget planning that we have in Nigeria, it's more of using the top-down approach. It's the people in Abuja that decides on what Agubeli wants, you know, not the other way around. And that's why you have a lot of people doing some funny insertions, and you ask yourself, are we normal as a people? You wouldn't imagine that we have agencies like the Border Community Development Agency, Border Community by name. It's very simple. Border communities. That shows that agency should focus on border communities. Now, such agency is now constructing road in Ile-Ife. Ile-Ife isn't a border community. And not just that, duplicating project, the same name, the same location, worth 300 million naira each. Construction of Ife City Road, 300 million naira each. Then they now duplicate the project. We have two in that budget. Aside that, we have funny things like provision of rice, construction of motor park. These are the duties of the local government, but because we have a structure that have, you know, crippled the local government in every way possible, we see the federal and state governments, you know, taking up the responsibilities of the local government and putting it into the budget, you know, and doing very many funny stuffs around. You even see, you begin to ask yourself, what's the difference between the Border Communities Development Agencies and the National Boundary Commission? And you see all these agencies, all these parastatals, you know, putting in funny stuff into the budget, duplicating and doing all sorts of things. It's been going on a very, very long time ago. In fact, within the Osogbo metropolis, projects were executed by this same government agency within Osogbo. which is at the heart of Osun State, not a border community. And we have things around like that, that you just see things happening and you ask yourself, what is happening? Who is doing what? Why are we so funny as a people? But the question is, are the citizens knowledgeable about all these things? Yes, the non-governmental organizations like Budget, like Urban Alerts, are trying to enlighten people to see the realities and also educate them on the best ways to ask questions and put, pressure on the government to do the right thing. But alas, even after the outcry, even after the noise, it still goes on. Nothing changes. It's so unfortunate.
All right, Tony, like you said, it's so unfortunate. But then let's look at the foundation to this matter. When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu presented the budget proposal to the National Assembly, it was 27.50 billion naira. This was as at November 2023. But then the National Assembly increased this budget by 1.27 trillion naira. So the budget proposal moved from what the president submitted to the National Assembly from 27.50 to 28.78 trillion naira. Now, there has always been this controversy as to if the National Assembly has the judicial backing. I mean, is it lawful for the National Assembly to actually insert or increase the budget arbitrarily without recourse to the executive? Because one would think they are supposed to be the gatekeepers. When the executive presents anything to them, they look through and see if there are any discrepancies, if it's intact and all of that. So if they are not the executive, what right really do they have to increase the budget and insert some projects without the executive, taking a look at it and saying, okay, this is right, this is what should be done at this time? I'd like you to speak on that. Do you think, when they say when the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? So this doesn't just happen with the National Assembly. Even at the state level, you see the assembly members, the assembly increase budget arbitrarily from a particular amount to another.
So, when we talk about rights, I'm not a lawyer, but it's glaring that the National Assembly's responsibility regarding budget passage is to scrutinize the budget. And that's why we have ministry departments and agencies go to the National Assembly to defend this budget. So they have the right to scrutinize the budget, remove if possible, and add if possible. But because as Nigerians, the Nigerian thing, let me use that word, we often use these as things like these as opportunities to drive home our own points and also, feed our own pockets. And that is what is happening in the National Assembly. They're expected to, correct the anomalies in the budget, but they actually added to the burden by adding a lot of unreasonable things. I must tell you that if you look at the budget, and in fact, specifically look at supply and installation of solar-powered street lights, it's like a copy and paste sentence for the budget narrative. I must tell you, the total amount for that should be able to establish a solar-powered company in Nigeria that will solve our problems altogether. But because there are plans, it's not just about putting it in the budget, It's not just, we have the zona intervention project, which the senators and House of Representative members do in their own constituencies. I think they use this as a strategy to pad the budget. you begin to see how much just one street light cost in our budget and how much it costs in reality, running into millions of dollars. Just one pole, supply and installation of just one pole of that solar power street light. You won't imagine how much it costs in the budget. Yes, they have the right to scrutinize the budget, but they are using that as an opportunity to feed their own pockets, which is so unfortunate. If we have a serious government, when I talk about government, I'm talking about the executive, the legislators, the judiciary. We should have a check and balance, thing to do around that. But unfortunately, it's not happening.
All right. Quickly, Tony, stay with me. That budget, that document from budget, they released a 248 document, and they said it has 7,447 projects worth 2.2 trillion naira. That's the ambiguity that we're talking about. 248 pages of inserted, not the old document of the budget, but inserted, like these image on the screen now. And I will speak to the ambiguity very, very quickly. It talks about, just a minute, it talks about the person or the office carrying out such projects. And here we go. To start with, this office of the ministry, secretary to the government of the federation. And the MDA is, for example, National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. The code is there, ERGP 2024-7727. The project name, Tony, is Provision of Services at the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. And it's a new one. The approved budget is 1 trillion naira. Am I correct? 1 billion naira, right? Yeah, 1 billion naira. But the project name, for your interest and for the interest of people watching us, is Provision of Services at the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. The question is, what does that mean? That's the ambiguity. Provision of services. What service? It wasn't well named. It could be anything. And this is part of what Nigerians are talking about. Another one says, Border Communities Development Agency, rehabilitation of Kwaturu to Sabon Sarki Road, Kaduna State, 700 million naira. The same office of the SGF, construction of Yasma Road. I'll move further from that to the fifth one. Border Community Development is the MDA. The code is ERGP 2024-3428. And interestingly, the project name is Training of Traditional Rulers on Peace and Security in Ikeja Federal Constituency, Lagos State, to the tune of 614.25 million naira. Tony, we have many of these things. That's just under the office of the SGF. And then provision of services at the Nigerian Christian Pilgrim Commission, 500 million naira. These are some of the issues. And when you read these issues with some of these leaders, people, the parliamentarian, they explain it away, making it to look like, does it matter? There are ways things are inserted here and there. All that matters is for this project to be carried out. Do you share that sentiment, especially with this ambiguity?
Like I said in my introductory speech, it is a usual thing. We have this year in, year out regarding the budget. But the question is, we can all see that this is wrong. This is audible to the deaf and visible to the blind, that this is outrightly wrong. We can't run a country like this. Anybody can just do anything and use our money anyhow, and that's all. We can all see that things cannot work like this. How will you be doing training for traditional rulers running into millions of naira By the way, traditional rulers are not even under the purview of the federal government. It's even under the purview of the local government. So we could see in the case of the Emir of Kano, it was the local government that virtually removed the former Emir. So for me, so some things that would see Nigeria as a country and we begin to wrap our head around it. They are not even things that we should think about in the first place. So I think that the conversation should be more on the solution to the problem rather than we trying to discuss all over again concerning this issue.
Yeah, of course, that's why we are here to talk about these matters. The challenge is identifying them first and then looking at solutions about where do we go from here. But, so that we'll point it there, still talking about these things that look like an anomaly. Office of the SGF as well, Border Community Development Agency. Why we have to read these out, there is a way leaders, especially politicians, try to gaslight, especially the public or the media or anybody, CSOs, organizations like yourself, Urban Alert Budget, Young Africa, many of them, Kimpact, doing very well. They make it to look like they make it to look like sometimes you don't know what you're saying and you don't know the arithmetic. That's a popular saying that they when they are talking about these things, you are just a rabble rouser. But I just want to explain that the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, monitoring the border communities development, will carry out or monitor a project called Completion of Badagry Youth Development Center to the tune of 500 million naira. What has that got to do with boundary community development? These are some of the anomalies, and that's why we are putting it out here for us to really see the extent. Now, few millions from here, another millions from there, it accrues to billions of naira, running into trillions of naira, and these, you can't even say this is what they are using it to do. Before I bring you in again, Tony, let me reel out this particular one that appears bit laughable as well, and it's under Federal Ministry of Youth Development. If I could have that, that's the top document. Federal Ministry of Youth Development. Supply of 200 numbers motorcycles for youth development in Goronyo and Gada local government, that's in Sokoto State, to the tune of 225 million naira. Now, it means 225 million naira divided by 200 motorcycles. That sells for over 1 million naira. The last time I checked out the market, I tried to do a survey. A unit of bike, either Bajaj or TVS, is still selling less than 900,000 naira on the regular market. But with this explanation of the federal government, this is almost 1.3, 1.4 million naira per motorcycle. This is what they are going to buy for youth in Goronyo and Gada. Two questions there. Yes. Tony, first of all, why will youth in Goronyo and Gada have 200 motorcycles to themselves, and youth in Borikwe and Ogbedore does not deserve the same thing? Coming from the pocket of the federal government, number one. Then number two, why will something that they will buy in bulk will be much more expensive, even with the one that we can get at Orizumbari here in Oshobo? These are the questions, Tony.
So I feel that our budget, in fact, we've seen public fund as the national cake. We just, people at the top just find ways around it to get things into their pockets. If you look at the budget, in fact, the document published by budget, you would ask yourself, are we normal? Because it beats human imagination. It looks like rocket science, Let me give you an example. You've mentioned many of them, but even for me, I feel even those ones you mentioned still make a little sense. So Federal Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, through the Nigeria Institute of Leather and Science Technology headquarters, has the budget narration called Starter Pack. Starter Pack for 500 million naira. Starter Pack for 500 million naira. And we still have another Nigeria National Space Research and Development Agency, Abuja, that will be doing training on information technology in selected locations in the 6 geopolitical zones. Almost another 5 million naira, 500 million naira. And you ask yourself, what is happening? These are things that, you know, even in our own private homes, you can't do budgets like this. You need to attach money to something significant that you want to achieve. But because we have a country that we really don't care. Even citizens, sometimes I feel we really don't care, and also because our politicians have devised a strategy to continue to enslave the people by ensuring that you don't even have access to the right information, to not talk of you asking the right questions. But when it comes to budgeting in Nigeria, to an extent, I think we still have access to few information, especially for the federal budget. If we look deep into our state budgets, we have similar things, you know, but because we don't have access. But for these federal budgets, which we can also always have access to at least few things around it, we begin to ask questions.
All right.
How are we here, and what can we do?
All right, Tony, you have said we shouldn't dwell much on the problem, but look forward to solution. Let's talk about the whistleblower, the one who opened this kind of worms, Senator Abdul Ningi, who has been suspended from the Senate now for 3 months. And there is a caveat to that, that if he comes back to apologize, withdraw all of his statements, maybe they will look into the matter and recall him back into the House. But then there are people that have made recommendations that that Senator Abdul Ningi spoke out probably because his own interests were not covered, or the interest of his region was not covered. That was why he spoke out. Probably if he was carried along, or if his interest was covered, he would not have blown the whistle. He would not have opened this kind of worms. So people have made recommendations for citizens, for civil society organizations to be part of the budgeting process, whether nationally or subnationally, so that we can have an open and transparent budget that people know, okay, this, what we have in the budget is actually the right thing that we should have at this time. Your take on that we should actually have civil society organization, citizens being part of the budget?
Yes. Let me start from the whistleblower himself, Senator Ningi. Yes, he was able to come to the public to mention many things. But you know, the way Nigeria works, Nigeria as a society, we know there are rots in the system. And the moment just one person tries to, open the cankerworm, forget it, he will be the victim. And I think that is what is happening to Senator Ningi. His hands are also not clean. He's been part of them. And like you mentioned, definitely because he wasn't carried along, he wasn't given his own share of the cake. I think maybe a better portion of the cake. That's why we have him come to the public mentioning that issue. So that said, what Senator Ningi said is just part of the issue. That is just part of the issue. We have a lot of things within the budget that on a good day we should have a national conference on budgeting. And like we said, like I said, the way our budgeting process is designed, which is a top-down approach, will definitely not help us. For a community that doesn't need a town hall that you are budgeting town hall for, they don't even have light. You are budgeting town hall. A community that doesn't have light, you are budgeting. You are budgeting youth innovation center. A community that is struggling with transformer, you are budgeting street lights. A community that is struggling with unemployment, you are budgeting. I even saw one garment center. You know, there are ways to doing things. You can't budget garment center for a rural community that doesn't have light. They need mechanized agriculture. But because you're in Abuja, you are still sitting in one corner of the hotels in Abuja and, thinking about your own pocket, not about what people really need. So until we have a bottom-up approach into our budgeting system, until we have a transparent process, by now, the Federal Ministry of Budget Planning should be working on the 2025 budget already from the council level. Let people come out to say, in Oshogbo, this is what we need. Let us pass this through the senators and House of Representative members from Oshogbo to say, Senator so, this is what we need.
Tony, Tony, sorry, if I may butt in there, isn't that why we have parliamentarians representing the people from different senatorial districts and different, constituencies? For the people of Ife-Ijesha senatorial district, for example, you have a Senator Fadam sit there who should see to the well-being of the people of his senatorial district. Isn't that why they are there?
Yeah, you're right. But painfully, it doesn't work that way. We see even those senators doing their own bidding. As we speak, there is almost 2 billion naira budgeted zonal intervention projects for Osun State. People don't even know. People are not aware that this is happening. And you even see these senators and House of Rep members come to the states, not just in Osun, but all through the country. They go to their states and share grinding machine, share motorcycle as if it's their own personal money. No. These are zonal intervention projects. But I tell you, what people need in those communities may not even be the sewing machine. They need something more critical, something that would go round, that people would benefit. But because of their own political interest, they don't see, the right thing, and they don't do the right thing. So until we begin to do a bottom-top approach, can we have a structure where people from local communities will come out to say, this coming year, this is what we need from the government. This is what we feel will benefit us, not what you think will benefit us. It is quite different. Someone living in Ijesha really knows what he wants. The community really know what they want. They can easily reach out to the federal, representative or the senators representing them to say, Honorable or Senator so. This is what we want. Can you put it, can you nominate this in the budget? Now, nomination is not just the only thing. People need to begin to track all these things. See, all these things that have been budgeted for, many of them, monies will be released for them. We're only talking about these budgets now. When they begin to release money, many people will not know. Many people will not, and that is where the game comes in. you begin to see all these House of Representatives and the senators and saying we are not involved in the implementation of the project, but we know backdoor that they are involved. Many of them, bring contractors to execute this project. Many of them ensure that this project, and that's why we see Office of National Boundary Commission, having lots of projects that they don't even they were not supposed to have, because the senators, the House of Representative members that are overseeing the activities of the agencies, they have a way to clamp them down to say, I'm bringing this project to you, and when it's time, I'm going to be in charge from backdoor. It's as simple as that. So, and we have lots of projects like that littered around the country. Go to Oshogbo, go to Awosuru. There's a particular project, at the roundabout at Awosuru. It's still there, nothing to show for it. We have these lawmakers, they nominate projects and they end up building primary health centers. And it's not being utilized, even classrooms not being utilized, because that is not what the people want. But for me, because they want the money, they don't care. They don't give a damn about what is going to happen or what people really needs. The first step is to make sure that they insert this into the budget, and they can always find their way around it.
All right, Tony, quickly, I picked up a couple of things, and let me start from here. Earlier, you said maybe we need a national conference to really talk about how budgeting should be done. But I want to disagree to say, even in an elementary economics, everybody know how budgets you work. Is it because we don't know how it should be? We don't know how it works for a 63-year-old country? Or is just because there are some individuals who have an unofficial system where they put whatever they want to put, like a convention where the boys must eat, if you understand what I'm saying. Everybody must just have a share of these. So many persons will say, it's not because we don't know how a proper budgeting should be done. It's just a greediness and what we term anyhowness of how we do things around there. That's number one. Number two is how representation is done. For a House of Reps, or for a senatorial district, for example, let's use Oshun as a case study. There is a Senator Francis Fadausi, representing the people of Ife-Ijesha. That's Oshun East Senatorial District. There is Senator Olubi, known as Adejuwon, representing the people of Oshun Central Senatorial District. There is a Lere Oyewumi or thereabout, representing the people of Oshun West. Now, all these people, by law, they are mandated to have a senatorial office. And some of them do, either if it's running or not, is another kettle of fish. Now, that is where people will go with their concerns. And the representative of the senator or the senator themselves will come to those offices to come and pick up those concerns of the people and work on it. That's the way it's supposed to be. So it's not like we don't know how this works. But the question is, Tony, will the Nigerian thing in some of these of our representatives, do they care, or will they make it work all across board? These are the concerns.
Yes, you may be right that it's a normal thing that we shouldn't even have an official discussion for. But in this case, we seems to be even, naturally contesting as if what we are doing is the normal thing. Maybe when we call ourselves together and have a roundtable discussion on the right thing, maybe we begin to accept the reality. Currently, there are 21, like you said, there are 21 zonal intervention projects in Osun State, which is from the data that Urban Alert has, it's a total of 2 billion and 60 million naira. 2 billion 60 million naira, and it's cut across the length and breadth of Osun State. Although even in the budget, it wasn't expressly stated. But I tell you, Urban Alert is working on a project that's going to bring this conversation out and ensure that the people of Osun really understand what is going on, so that 2 billion will not just come to Osun and disappear without knowing what it is. We have, like we said, we have similar projects in Osun. I've mentioned two of them. The construction of Ife City Road, duplicated. We have two of them, 300 billion naira each. We still have solar power street lights, which is around 230 million. 230 million naira in Osun State. But I think the conversation should be for a community that is battling with transformer, and you feel what they need is street lights. Ask yourself, are you representing them or you are representing your own interests? That is just it. We have communities that are really battling with lots. And the funniest thing is, at the end of the day, they now tag their names like it's their own personal thing. Like they went to work somewhere and brought the money to the people to have that project done. Not knowing that it's actually the people's money. If I tell you that even within Osun State, we have more than 500 million naira budgeted for street lights. More than 500 million naira budgeted from street lights from the federal government. Do people need street lights? Ask me. People don't really need it. They need something more influential, something that will influence their lives. But unfortunately, things doesn't work that way. Even I've heard community leaders contact their senators, their House of Rep members, even through Ohiolei. We have, conversations with them to say, see, this is what the people need. People call every week to say, we need this, we need that. Why not focus on that?
All right.
When you focus on what people need, you even benefit more because people can see that you're working. Not that you just nominate what people don't need and you go with half of the money. It's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
All right, Tony, with this revelation, and especially with a document produced by Budget that is now, viral, especially on social media, are you worried about the deafening silence of the independent, the Economic, Financial and Crimes Commission, the EFCC, the ICPC? I mean, these are issues they should be looking into to investigate what actually is going on. They should call Senator Abdul Ningi for questioning and all of that. Do you think, are you worried about the silence of the EFCC and the ICPC on this matter?
Personally, I'm not happy with EFCC. Personally, I'm not happy with EFCC. EFCC seems to have more seriousness when it comes to, yes, it's a good thing, but they seems to be more serious when it comes to street corruption. When I say street corruption, I'm talking about internet fraudsters and the rest. But the real issue around public fund, it's not well treated, and that is the painful thing. Agencies like the ICPC seems to be working on the ground. Maybe their own approach is, well, we want to do our thing on the ground and we come out with the results.
Okay.
I'm aware that ICPC is working around zonal intervention projects. But are we really seeing the results of the work? No. So until we see, people used to say, if God sees you, let people see you. We need to see them do the work. We need to see them prosecute people. We need to see them so that people will encourage people like Ningi. He may not be That person may not be a senator. So that person could be a budget analyst who was able to identify few issues.
Yeah.
People should be encouraged to come to the public to say, this is what I've seen, and these things should be well handled. But unfortunately, the anti-graft agencies like ICPC, like EFCC, seems not to be doing enough regarding budgeting and project execution.
All right. Lastly, from my end, how do you think the citizens can call their parliamentarians, their lawmakers to order, especially on issues like this that they are not happy with? You know, we know that in this part of the world, we vote, we elect leaders, but when it comes to calling them to order or, calling them back home, I don't think we've had any case like that in the country. But how do you think as citizens we can engage our lawmakers and also call them to order when they are doing things that we do not approve of?
So I think the first thing is for the citizens to be informed. And because leaders, the ruling class have devised their strategies to ensure that the people are in darkness. When you are not informed, you are deformed. When you don't have information, you won't be able to ask the right questions. So for me, I think citizens should be well informed. That is the first step. And fortunately, in Nigeria, we have a very strong civil society system that brings out issues and conversations and try to inform people regarding things like this. People need to support civil society organizations, follow them. The help of technology will also make it easy for people to get informed about what is happening. When people are informed, they have the opportunity to ask the right questions. So having been informed about what is happening in your community, for instance, in this budget cycle, we have the construction of Ohiolei River Bridge in Osun Senatorial District, Osun State, which is going to cost 130 million. And it's done by the Ministry of Agric. So can the residents of those communities get to be informed about this project? Can they begin to call the senators representing this? Can they begin to write to the Accountant General of the Federation? Can they begin to write to the Federal Ministry of Finance to know when money is released for this project so that we can own up to the project and ensure that it is well done?
Tony, you have talked about information severally. The people need to be informed. Who does this information?
So I think it's in the Nigeria settings, it's two. We have the civil society organizations like bodies like Urban Alert that will engage with the people to say this is the information that you need to help yourself. And we also have the media, the mainstream media, the radio stations, the television stations, like the Western Spring TV, Rave FM and others, that will bring this conversation to the limelight. But unfortunately also, because of the fear of the unknown, the traditional media seems to be running away from conversations like this. Nobody wants to be sanctioned by
Do you know how to say that? Because one will think ordinarily it behoves on senators, representatives, people's representatives to have a document, what they have done, what they are planning to do, and have it domiciled in their senatorial office and their rep's office. But then, we don't have much time. Let me just ask you, many persons have said we should call back this particular budget of ours 2024. You at Urban Alert, do you, buy that as well? Less than 30 seconds.
Yes, it's very good. It's a very good submission. But the question is, can we? In reality, let's ask ourselves as a country, we are sentimental in everything. Can we? Don't forget that even when Nengi raised the issue on the floor of the House before he was suspended, somebody said, in fact, a senator from Ekiti State said Nengi's whistleblowing thing was a move to remove the Senate president.
Yeah.
So we easily term these things and kill the conversation with nepotism and sort of funny stuff. So I hope we can do it, but in reality, I doubt if we can.
All right, the team lead at Urban Alert, Tony Adejuwon, thank you for joining us and thank you for your take. I mean, Nigeria prosper in our time and beyond.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Tony. That will be the size of our conversation today. It's about the 2024 budget that we are running and matters arising. The indiscriminate insertion of some ambiguous and ridiculous figures and projects that will be supervised by agencies and ministries that doesn't even have anything to do with it. But that will be the size of our conversation. We keep asking these questions until Nigeria gets better. Femi Ojo is my name, and Evelyn.
Yes, we have to go on Femi.
Right.
My name is Evelyn Ohiolei, and sure to have for yourself a good day. Bye-bye.